Welcome into OutKick, the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis, back from a couple of weeks in Washington, D.C., which included an Oval Office visit with President Trump. I'll talk about that a bit. I am here with you today and tomorrow, and then I am back on the road again. But we've got a lot to dive into. First of all, happy Juneteenth. I understand that many of you may well get this day off. I do not take this day off. I will take off July 4th. I will take off Thanksgiving. I will take off Christmas and sometimes Labor Day. I think that's New Year's Day sometimes, depending on the games. But those are pretty much the only holidays that I really take. So here we are rolling through. We're going to talk about Iran, the decision that Trump has to make, the decision that Israel has to make, Caitlin Clark, and the drama surrounding every WNBA player seeming to be filled with either jealousy or hate, sometimes one and the same. Lakers selling for $10 billion. The trans ruling on the Tennessee bill that came out yesterday from the Supreme Court. Arkansas baseball is cursed. Their loss last night to LSU. NBA ratings that I mentioned, the Lakers and what they sold for. The View and Whoopi Goldberg weighs in on how Black Americans experience America and says it is just as bad as how women experience Iran. All that and more, but we start with the story of the past week. Last Thursday, I think you guys can put this up. Last Thursday, just a couple of hours before Israel commenced its bombing of Iran, I was in the Oval Office with Buck Sexton. I think we have a still image that was taken, there we are, by White House photographers. Appreciate President Trump hosting me in the Oval Office. Buck and I spent about a half hour talking with him in there. J.D. Vance came in, met with Caroline Leavitt, longtime friend of OutKick. Really good visit, good to see the president. He was fabulously receptive, as he always is. All right. Within a few hours of us leaving the White House, I think we left the White House around 4:30 or 5, if I remember correctly. Go out to get something to eat, come back home, sit down on the couch, planning to just chill, and boom, news breaks that that Israel has begun to strike Iran to try to ensure that they don't get nuclear weapons. Now, the question that has since ensued over the last week is how involved should America be? And I look at this rationally, and I'm going to try to look at it from the perspective of what should the United States do? What should what should Israel do? And where do we go from here? Now, the most recent, correct me if I'm wrong, team, I just finished Clay and Buck, but my understanding, most recent news was Caroline Leavitt came out at a press conference in the last hour or so and said President Trump is going to make his decision about whether or not to get involved in bombing the Fordow, I might be mispronouncing that, nuclear facility, which is embedded essentially underneath a mountain, and we would need to drop a big bunker-busting bomb in order to be able to eliminate that as a viable place for nuclear activity to be taking place with Iran. Now, there are some suggestions that because we have eliminated any sort of aerial danger and have taken over the skies above Iran, that maybe Israel could send in commandos and they could destroy this nuclear facility on the ground. But if we are going to destroy it with a bomb, then we are going to have to do it with the big bunker-busting bomb, which we have and can burrow hundreds of feet into the ground that Israel does not have. And so the question has begun to be asked quite significantly, including for the last week, what should the United States role be? So I'm going to take a step back before I address the United States role, and I'm going to say, okay, let's analyze Iran. And what does Iran want? Iran, the Islamic Revolution, the mullahs, the Ayatollah, they took over Iran in 1979. And so for those of you out there that have not done it, I would encourage you to check it out. There are videos posted of what Iran looked like before the Islamic Revolution. And there are women walking around the streets of Tehran in miniskirts, in high heels. As Middle Eastern countries go, there was more freedom basic human rights in Iran than in most countries of the Middle East. And so historically, the Persian Empire, the area of Iran, would be, prior to 1979, a place where, as Middle Eastern human rights go, was near the top of the freedom chart. Since that time, there has been a total elimination of freedom. Women have to walk around in burqas. They have to walk around in hijabs. The average Iranian woman, and we'll talk about this as it pertains to Whoopi Goldberg here shortly, does not have basic human rights. And so the question you have to look at is, the Iranian Revolution happened the year I was born. I am not a super young man by any stretch of the imagination anymore. I am 46 years old, okay? Iran has had control, been controlled by the mullahs my entire life. And what lesson have we taken from their control? They will do whatever it takes to remain in power. So when I look at this situation right now, and I see that 80% of Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, believes it's a bad idea for Iran to get a nuclear weapon. When I look at Saudi Arabia would be in favor of the mullahs being tossed out. When I look at the UAE, when I look at Qatar, when I look at Syria, there is quiet condemnation of Israel that is in public. Privately, they are saying, keep up the attacks. They are not in favor of the people in charge of Iran, Khomeini, the Ayatollahs, the mullahs, all the rest, okay? Are they ever going to give up their quest for nuclear weapons? That's the ultimate question I think you have to ask yourself as you analyze what should happen in this geopolitical stake right now. My answer is no. And the evidence for that is their entire 46-year history in power, all of the lies they have told Democrat and Republican presidents, and the fact that purely from a rational basis, it is rational for Iran to try to get a nuclear weapon, because if they do, then much like Kim Jong-un has a nuclear weapon, there will actually never be an ability to ever overthrow this regime again, because the dangers associated with trying to do it are too great. In other words, you can be a religious, fundamentalist, crazy government and also engage in rational behavior to preserve your power and your governance ability. And pursuing a nuclear weapon is entirely within the Ayatollah's purview of directive, because it preserves his power and the people that he wants in power, potentially for as long as anybody watching or listening to this right now is alive, and maybe beyond that. This is the Kim Jong-un perspective. So if Trump is analyzing over the next 2 weeks whether he believes that Iran is going to come in good faith to the negotiating table and suddenly say, hey, we promise we'll never pursue a nuclear weapon, I just don't believe it. And so the analogy I've been making on radio is, you don't do half a job, because if you do half a job, sometimes you can create a worse situation for yourself. And the way that I have analogized this is, for any of you who have ever taken antibiotics, if you get an infection and you start to take antibiotics and you are beginning to get healthy, and then you just stop, you run the danger of the infection coming back stronger and now largely antibiotic resistant, because you didn't complete the job of defeating the virus. And so the virus metastasizes and can come back stronger than it otherwise would. That, to me, is an analogy that applies for Iran right now. So I don't know how many ways there may be to eradicate the Iranian nuclear capabilities, but I'm with the 80% of Americans of Democrat, Republican, Independent politics that believe we should eradicate that from happening. Now, that's question one. If there is no way to eradicate it without United States involvement, then I would bomb Iran, because never have they been weaker than what has happened with the Hezbollah, with Hamas, and with Syria, which are Iranian proxies, all being defeated by Israel. And I'll come back to October 7th, 2023, and this being all connected to what happened then in a moment. But first, I want to play Mohammed bin Salman. He is the crown prince, I believe, of Saudi Arabia, by and large, Saudi Arabia's current ruler. And here he is saying that the Ayatollah Khomeini, the mullahs, all of the religious leaders of Iran are a global threat, and he is in favor of their removal. This is, I believe, 7 years ago on CBS News, 60 Minutes. Watch.
Is it a battle for Islam?
Iran is not a rival to Saudi Arabia. Its army is not among the top 5 armies in the Muslim world. The Saudi economy is larger than the Iranian economy. Iran is far from being equal to Saudi Arabia.
But I've seen that you called the Ayatollah Khamenei the new Hitler of the Middle East.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because he wants to expand. He wants to create his own project in the Middle East, very much like Hitler, who wanted to expand at the time. Many countries around the world and in Europe did not realize how dangerous Hitler was until what happened happened. I don't want to see the same events happening in the Middle East.
Does Saudi Arabia need nuclear weapons to counter Iran?
Saudi Arabia does not want to acquire any nuclear bomb. But without a doubt, if Iran developed a nuclear bomb, we will follow suit as soon as possible.
Are you concerned, though, Iran gets a nuclear weapon, about them getting a nuclear weapon?
When we are concerned of any country getting a nuclear weapon, that's a bad move. And you don't need to get a nuclear weapon because you cannot use it. Even if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, any country use a nuclear weapon, that means they are having a war with the rest of the world. The world cannot see another Hiroshima. If the world see 100,000 people dead, that means you are in a war with the rest of the world. So it's a useless effort to reach a nuclear weapon because you cannot use it.
Secondarily, there is Brett Baer from Fox News also conducting his own interview. This is where I want to give the Trump team credit so far in recognizing the early government of Syria and working primarily through the prism of commerce. Trump has built great relations in the Middle East with the UAE, with Qatar, with Bahrain, with all of these different countries, Saudi Arabia certainly, not primarily viewing things through Islam, through Christianity, through the Jewish faith. He is not focused or led with religion. He's led with commerce. Hey, let's build great businesses together. Let's let the rising tide of commerce lift all boats. It is a no-brainer, and I give Trump credit there. But listen to the people who live in the Middle East. Listen to the people who are Muslim as well, who live in Arab countries. They believe that Iran is a threat to their region. And while they may say publicly things that are negative about Israel, they actually are supportive of Israel attacking the regime. So I think you have to wipe out nuclear weapons once and for all. I don't believe the Ayatollah can be trusted. I don't believe any of the Iranian leadership can be trusted. They lied to Obama. They'll lie to us. They will lie to any American president to try to preserve their hold on power. Now, second part of this. This is the more difficult call, I think. Should the Ayatollah be killed? Okay, so if President Trump asked me, Clay, what do you think I should do based on all the evidence you have seen? And by the way, he has a lot better evidence and a lot better information than I do. I would say if you can't eradicate the nuclear ambition of Iran without American involvement, I would bomb. I wouldn't put troops on the ground. Second question. If Benjamin Netanyahu came to me and he said, Clay, do you support regime change in Iran? I would say yes. I would say I would take out the Ayatollah if Benjamin Netanyahu, for some reason, asked my advice. Again, he has better information than I do. He is far more plugged in, but based on all of the situation here, why? I don't think Iran can have a worse leadership. Iraq, some of you are going to point to it and say, well, look what happened when we removed Saddam Hussein. It was a disaster. I understand that argument. Iraq has been a mess. I didn't support the Iraq war. I didn't support sending American troops in. I think that was a colossal failure. George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, I didn't vote for them. I didn't support it. I've been pretty consistent. Obviously, I was a much younger man when all that happened. But I don't believe that based on what we have seen from the Ayatollahs over the last 46 years, I don't believe it's likely that Iran is going to have a less freedom-loving, a more dangerous leadership going forward if the Ayatollahs are out. I think the most likely outcome is that they would probably on some level go back to the royal family, which was leading Iran prior to the overthrow by the Muslim fundamentalist in 1979. So I wouldn't go halfway here. If you know you can't trust the Ayatollahs to cease to go after nuclear weapons, which I believe is true, and if you know the Ayatollahs will do whatever it takes to stay in positions of power, I think an uncertain future of leadership for Iran, which would free 90 million some odd Iranian people, is actually a good move. Now, that doesn't mean you have to agree with me. And so this is going to get clipped. People are going to be in the mentions. They're going to be agreeing with me, disagreeing with me, everything else. That's fine. And I can say this honestly. That's what should happen. We should have a real debate about this. 80% of people might agree with me on nuclear weapons. That doesn't mean we're right in terms of taking them out. The 20% may be right. Who knows? It's important to have real, robust debate. And just because somebody disagrees with me on my take here doesn't mean that they're a bad person. We got to get back to being able to have rational adult disagreements on challenging positions. Ultimately, Donald Trump was elected to make supremely difficult decisions and get advice from a variety of perspectives telling him different best advice practices. And then he weighs all that evidence, he thinks about it, he marinates on it, and he makes a choice. That's what American democracy is. Meanwhile, people like you, people like me, we can all sit around and do our best to analyze the situation and come up with the choice that if we were in that position, we would make. I say this all the time and strip it away from this current situation. One of the best things I think you can do to prepare for decision-making one day in your life, if you run a company, you manage a bunch of people, whatever your aspirational goal is, work through choices as if you had to make them. I'm telling you the advice I would give. I'm telling you the choice that I would make if I were the decider. If, as Harry S. Truman said, the buck did stop here. That's ultimately what we vote for, the decider, but you can work on your own decision-making by analyzing all these divergent perspectives and trying to analyze them as well. One big picture take that I haven't heard talked about enough. I do think that historically, we are looking at October 7th, 2023, when Hamas invaded Israel. I've been at the kibbutzes where all those people were slaughtered. I've been all over Israel. When that happened, I think it was Hamas's Pearl Harbor. They had what they thought was a short-term victory that was going to debilitate their foe. Instead, they unleashed their own destruction in the tides of war. Hamas is basically done as a functional entity right now. Hezbollah done. Syria, Assad overthrown. Iran unable to protect itself. And if you are Iranian, for 2 generations, 46 years, they've been telling you, we're going to destroy the United States, the great Satan, and the little Satan, Israel. And within 24 hours, your vaunted military was completely overrun, and you had almost no ability whatsoever to defend your whole country. Israel could kill and wipe out basically anyone it wants to. 1/9 the population, maybe 1/10 the population of Iran, a fraction of the size of the country, and yet Israel has managed to completely overtake Iran. All of the tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars that this regime has had to spend, and they have been utterly defeated. I think that is quite significant as well. So that is my take there. Here is a pivot to America. I think The View is the dumbest show that airs every day on television. And again, marketplace of ideas should exist. But one of the great things about the First Amendment is when someone says something completely moronic, everybody else gets to react to it as well. Here is Whoopi Goldberg saying on The View yesterday that as there is a discussion about human rights in Iran, and as Alyssa Farah Griffin, who has Middle Eastern ancestry, that is, I believe her father is from the Middle East, is trying to point out to the ladies on The View who are completely clueless about freedoms in the country and how few things women are even able to do, what they're even able to wear. Whoopi Goldberg says it's not much better for black people in America than what the average woman in Iran has to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Watch this.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
But where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Keep hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
Killed for I'm sorry.
Well, they were like around. I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it.
Whoopi Goldberg is a moron. She lacks the basic ability to understand all the privilege and all of the wealth and all of the gratitude that she should have, thanks to the country that she's fortunate enough to live in, the United States. And I feel the same way about Whoopi as I do the Gays for Gaza people. You should go to the Middle East and just try to visit. Just actually go see what goes on there. Whoopi Goldberg makes, I think they said $8 million a year for that show. $8 million a year to be completely clueless and uninformed, and even worse than that, to sell to young people in America, particularly young minorities, black kids in particular, that you can't succeed because you're a victim and the oppression Olympics is real. Her own life success story defeats the argument that she is making here. There is no Whoopi Goldberg of Iran. And the only country in the Middle East that has basic human rights, by and large, for people who are gay, for instance, is Israel. That's why the Gays for Gaza thing was so patently absurd. They had to cancel the pride marches in Israel because of the Iranian bombs that were landing. In other Middle Eastern countries, there are no pride marches because you can still be beheaded for being gay. You can be thrown off the tops of buildings for being gay. And so the fact that Whoopi Goldberg is this clueless is, I think, unfortunately emblematic of how few Americans truly understand the good fortune that we are in and a part of on a day-to-day basis, where we are able to live in a country with unbelievable opportunity, whether you're white, black, Asian, or Hispanic, gay or straight, male or female, in a way that people in Iran, frankly, are not. And to think that black people in America, some of whom are billionaires, some black people in America started with nothing and are now billionaires because of the immense opportunity in this country. To think that that equates in any way with the treatment of women in Iran, I don't know how Alyssa Farah Griffin can even feel like she's capable of having a conversation here. And this is indicative, unfortunately, of the world of the left now, where they lack the ability to distinguish between good and evil, or even good outcome and bad outcome, because they have bought into the idea that America, instead of a good place in general, is a bad place. And so they lack the ability to recognize that, yes, America is imperfect, and there are many things that we could do better. But we are the greatest country for freedom that has ever existed in the history of the world, and I believe we remain that to this day. And all of us who are fortunate enough to have been born here Certainly if you were born in my era or later. I understand if you were born in the 1920s, 1930s, and you're black, your lifestyle is very different. If you're born around 1980 in the United States of America, you have grown up in incredible opportunity, regardless of whether you're black, white, Asian, or Hispanic. And the data reflects it. Do you know who the highest earning income group in America is? Asian men. How in the world, if America is fundamentally racist, do Asian men make more money on average than any group in America? If America is fundamentally racist, how come so many black and brown people during the Biden administration, 10 million plus of them, were willing to risk their lives to come across our southern border? It's just not true. And so when I see arguments like these, the positive is there's an opportunity to point out how moronic it is. The negative is The View doesn't actually have that many views. And so they don't actually have a robust debate about the larger context of discussions such as these. So shame on Whoopi Goldberg. It's embarrassing for her to have made an argument that bad. Okay. Let's talk about the trans ruling. I want to be fast on the trans ruling. 6-3. We had the Attorney General of Tennessee on the Clay and Buck show yesterday, Jonathan Skrmetti. 6-3 decision yesterday. I'm thankful that I live in the state of Tennessee where our legislature decided that minors shouldn't be able to have gender surgery that could, for instance, leave them unable to ever have children and have it be just awful, right? And I just address this from the perspective of a parent. We decide that minors shouldn't be responsible for actual crimes that they commit oftentimes if they are under the age of 18 because they don't have the requisite mental capacity to understand the consequences of their actions. We do not allow people under the age of 16 to drive a car. You can't rent a car until you're 25 years old. You can't drink a beer until you're 21. You can't vote until you're 18. In most states in the country, it's actually a crime for a parent to take you to get a tattoo before you're 18 or older. If we have decided that you can't get a barbed wire tattoo on your forearm or on your bicep, how in the world, to the extent that people still get barbed wire tattoos, I promised kids they used to be cool to some people, how in the world have we decided that it's okay to let a 14-year-old get his dick chopped off or a 15-year-old get her boobs chopped off? This is child abuse. It is unacceptable. And I know we've got something from the American Medical Association, or American Pediatric Association, I think, where they're saying, oh, this was the wrong call. I disagree. Okay? I think what we need to do is actually make these surgeries illegal in all 50 states, everywhere under the United States flag. Congress should pass a law. Many different states have passed the law, thankfully, like Tennessee. But you can still go to Illinois or New York or Chicago and get your dick chopped off if you're 14. This is crazy. I think it's barbaric. I think you're probably headed for major lawsuits because I think a lot of kids are deciding when they get into their 20s and they suddenly realize, wait a minute, you're telling me I can't have kids anymore? Wait a minute, you're telling me that my life trying to pretend that I am female when I'm male or male when I am female requires unbelievable amounts of drugs, that it requires oftentimes leaving open wounds on my body. I didn't know what I was signing up for. I was 14 or 15 years old. I couldn't consent. I think you're going to see massive lawsuits. And I think you're going to start to see American juries push back against it. Now, I don't think it's healthy. And I think it is likely to lead to more depression long-term than it is happiness in the short term. But if adults decide they want to do this, then I think adults should be able to do this. I wish that fewer were doing it because I think ultimately it's not going to make you much happier in the long run. I think it's going to shorten your lifespan. I think it's going to lead to a lot of deleterious health-related implications. But if you want to do it as an adult and you're paying for it, I think it should be permitted, even though I think it's awful. If you're doing it as a kid, I think it's a crime. And so I feel bad for the parents that have been emotionally manipulated into this. I give credit to the Supreme Court, the 6 justices who said no to this. I don't think it's coincidental that there are 7 parents on the Supreme Court. 6 of the 7, by a 6-1 margin, they said this is unacceptable. 2 non-parents, Elena Kagan and Justice Sotomayor, both said this should be allowed. I don't think that's a coincidence that parents voted 6-1. It shouldn't happen, because I think a lot of you who are fortunate enough to have raised children, as I said on the radio show, my son used to think he was a Jedi. My son used to think he was a ninja. Kids often decide to put on costumes and pretend to be things that they are not. That doesn't mean we treat it in real life as if they are actually Jedis. I think there are a lot of little girls out there that are tomboys when they're young. I think there's some, boys who may be interested in feminine things. A lot of times they grow out of this. They become very comfortable in their own body. But teenage years are tempestuous for many people. And I think allowing emotional decisions for young children is an awful idea. I actually think it's barbaric when it leads to potentially permanent sterility. And I don't think it should be allowed anywhere in the country. I don't believe there are trans kids. I hate to say it. Some people get upset at me when I say this. I don't believe there are any trans kids. I think there are sad, depressed kids who are looking for a reason why they feel the way they do, and they think if they make a dramatic change in their life, that might make them happier. I think parents are often manipulated. The doctors here, I think, are indefensibly barbaric in treating this as if it is a reality. If a kid came in to you and he was an Asian kid and he said he was black, you wouldn't suddenly say, oh, you know what, you're black. In fact, that would be considered racist. That's what Rachel Dolezal did. Why is trans race not a thing medically and transgender is? It's way harder, I think most of you would acknowledge, to change your gender than it would be to change your race. A lot of people are wrong about their race. Look at Elizabeth Warren. Spent her whole life bragging that she was Native American. Turns out she has virtually no Native American ancestry at all. Some of you may have done genetic tests and you thought that you were one race, or you thought that your family was from one country and it turned out that you were from another. Race can be very much of a cultural construct. Gender is biologically real. And so trans race seems like it should be more of a thing than transgender. But if you're going to say transgender is a thing, I don't understand how trans race is racist, transgender is heroic. I don't think it should happen for anybody under the age of 18. Okay, a couple of other things that are out there as we, by the way, the APA statement, they were wrong about masking. They were wrong about kids opening back up. This is an embarrassment, and it's one reason why I think a lot of people have started to trust, quote unquote, the experts far less because of expert opinions like these. This is a mind virus. It is something that I think 20 years from now is going to be considered unacceptable medically. And I think the Supreme Court ruling is going to go a long way towards helping that become a reality. Okay. Caitlin Clark. Do we have the video? Much less serious. Caitlin Clark, this was on Wednesday? Was this on Tuesday or Wednesday? I can't remember. Here is a video from inside of the crowd. Caitlin Clark getting basically wrecked multiple different places. Can we play that a couple of different times, guys, so you can see it? This is a video from inside of the crowd of this play. You can see Caitlin Clark, poked in the eye and then knocked down. Sophie Cunningham, to her credit, one of her teammates came back and took out the girl who initially poked Caitlin Clark in the eye. You guys can just keep running that if you want while I'm talking. This is one of the worst decisions that I have ever seen any league engage in. Caitlin Clark is the biggest draw for a team sport in my life relative to the audience that would be fans of the sport without her. Bigger than Michael Jordan was for the NBA, bigger than any NFL star has ever been, bigger than Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge or any baseball star in my life. All of those sports were very popular before those athletes got there. Did they take them to another level? Yes. But Bird and Magic had already helped to make the NBA matter. This is like Tiger Woods to golf, like Venus and Serena to tennis. It is a golden opportunity for the league. Caitlin Clark is the golden goose. Every game she is dropping golden eggs, and they are trying to strangle the golden goose to death. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. There's jealousy. There is hate. Hate, of course, is often connected to jealousy because jealousy is one of the drivers of hate. Everyone in the league seems to hate the fact that Caitlin Clark is making the league relevant. So here's what I would say to Caitlin Clark. First of all, I've been arguing this for a long time. You need to put Dennis Rodman in a dress, bring him out of retirement, let Caitlin Clark have an enforcer who can actually wreck people who are attacking her. But more seriously, if I were advising Caitlin Clark, I would say start your own pro basketball league for women. I don't know why she benefits from the WNBA at all. She could go out. She is the draw for women's basketball and set up her own league. She might even be able to own the majority of the league. She could probably become a billionaire. Set it up with far fewer teams. You play far fewer games. Heck, they did it with Live Golf. I think the audience would follow Caitlin Clark wherever she goes. That was on Tuesday night. It went mega viral. But if I were giving business advice to Caitlin Clark, I never remember this being true before, but I think it is true for her. Never been true in team sports. The WNBA needs Caitlin Clark more than Caitlin Clark needs the WNBA. If the league will not protect her and allow her to play basketball at the highest level, then she should leave and start a brand new league. Heck, I would invest in it. If you told me right now, hey, Clay, you can invest in Caitlin Clark or you can invest in the WNBA without Caitlin Clark, I would invest in Caitlin Clark's new league. I just would. The audience is there for her. They will follow her. Now, this may end up being okay for the WNBA because they basically have created the Real Housewives of the WNBA, and they all hate Caitlin Clark because she's more talented than most of them are. She's getting all the attention. She's like the prettiest girl on the Real Housewives show who's married to the guy with the most money that all the other women hate because she has what they want. But this is, I think, a sign that she should leave and she should go on and she should start her own league. I don't even think it's a very difficult decision. So that's my take. NBA, we got two different takes on the NBA. Game 6 of the NBA Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indianapolis Pacers going on tonight. It's the Indiana Pacers, right? Not the Indianapolis Pacers, but they do play in Indianapolis. I expect OKC to knock them out and to end this in 6 games. But in the meantime, this is the lowest rated NBA Finals other than the NBA Finals that took place in the fall when LeBron, I think, would they win 4-2? The Lakers beat the Miami Heat, if I remember correctly, in the 2020 bubble NBA Finals. Nobody watched, but it was outside of the normal schedule, that is seasonally, and they were also playing head-to-head, some against the NFL, whereas now they're not competing against anybody. Nobody's watching. The NBA brand is, as a product in the United States, in significant decline. It has been 29 million people watched Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals in 1998. That's the high watermark for the NBA. Around 9 million, that's per game average. Around 9 million people on average are going to watch this current league. That means that about, 70% roughly of the audience that watched in 1998 is watching today. And people can say, oh, well, that's just the decline of cable. That's just the decline of television, whatever you want to say. It's not true. NCAA women's basketball all-time records. WNBA right now, all-time records because of Caitlin Clark. NFL, all-time records. Men's basketball, all-time records. In particular, people like basketball, they've just lit the NBA brand on fire. Now, some people are going to say, well, Clay, why did the Lakers just sell for $10 billion? Because a super rich guy wanted to own a prized asset. Same reason that sometimes a painting by Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci or any of the other, Van Gogh, whoever you want to point to that's a super positive artist. Bill Simmons tweeted, the Buss family owned 66% of the Lakers. Walter owned 27%. Random people owned 7%. Walter offered $4.8 billion for 48% more at a $10 billion valuation. The Buss family said yes, kept 18%. So Walter's side paid $1.35 billion, a lot of math here, in 2021 for 27%, then $4.8 billion for 48%. So they paid $6.15 billion total for a 75% majority share. It's not that crazy. So anyway, the valuation, actually, since they already own 27% of it, they're basically valuing what they already owned at a massive increase while paying additionally. So, look, my point on pro sports leagues, I told you, hey, go buy the Atlanta Braves stock. I bought it myself. I've got a bunch of it. I said it's hard for the average guy or gal to own part of a pro sports franchise. Pro sports franchises, there aren't very many of them, and they are the equivalent of super expensive paintings that a rich guy gets to hang on his wall. They are not typically about cash flow, not typically about earnings, price to earnings ratios. They are a function of a rare asset class that super rich people want. And so far, nobody has lost any money because there's always a richer billionaire who wants to own what a rich billionaire owns. Maybe that will change, but there's only, 32 NBA franchises, 30 Major League Baseball franchises, 32 NFL franchises, around 32, I think, NHL franchises. There just aren't that many of these prized assets. And there's a lot more super rich people that are interested in owning a pro sports franchise than there are pro sports franchises for sale. So it doesn't have to be super rational when it comes to the valuation in play. Finally, Arkansas baseball. What an awful break for them. I was watching last night, 9th inning. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these details. I think they were up 2-run lead, 5-3, something like that, thereabouts. They got a ground ball to short. They're everything shortstop throws to third to get the second out instead of going to second to first for a inning-ending double play that would have advanced Arkansas to a winner-take-all game that would be played, I believe, tonight. Instead, they throw to third, get the out there. Then they get a fly ball to left field. It's curving. It's a little bit of a difficult play. It should be caught at least 9 times out of 10, if not more. Outfielder completely misplays it. Ricochets off of him. 2-run score. Game is tied. And then LSU is able to effectively walk it off to end Arkansas' season. 2018 Arkansas has a foul ball, if I remember correctly, that all they had to do was catch, and they would have won the College World Series. Last night they had a fly ball to left field. They wouldn't have won the College World Series, but they would have forced a winner-take-all game against LSU in order to try to advance to the finals against Coastal Carolina. Instead, misplay the ground ball at short, misplay the ball in outfield, and they give away their season. Crushing. I feel like Arkansas baseball is cursed. All right. I love all of you. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll dive into more of the stories that are out there. I'm also hosting Clay and Buck Solo, so you'll have me for 3 hours tomorrow there as well. Also scheduled to do Dave Rubin's show right now. and also to be on, I was already on Fox Business. I'll be on Fox News tonight, scheduled with Jesse Waters. I hope all of you have a fabulous Juneteenth. This has been OutKick, the show.